This is Dan Burley's original Handbook of Harlem Jive. Part 1. What is jive? Jive is language in motion. It supplies the answer to the hunger for the unusual, the exotic, and the picturesque in speech. It is a medium of escape, a safety valve for people pressed against the wall for centuries, deprived of the advantages of complete social, economic, moral, and intellectual freedom. It is an inarticulate protest of a people given half a loaf of bread and then dared to eat it, a people continually fooled and bewildered by the mirage of a better and fuller life. Jive is a defense mechanism, a method of deriving pleasure from something the uninitiated cannot understand. It is the same means of escape that brought into being the spirituals as sung by American slaves, the blues songs of protest that bubble in the breasts of black men and women, believed by their fellow white countrymen to have been born to be menials, to be wards of a nation, even though they are tagged with a whimsical designation as belonging to the body politic. Jive provides a medium of expression, universal in its appeal. Its terms have quality, sturdiness, rhythm, and descriptive impact. It is a language made vivid, vital, and dynamic. Jive serves a definite need of the people the same as do the Knights of Pythias, the Elks, or the sons and daughters of I Do Arise, with their signs, passwords, hand clasps, and so on. Conversations can be held in jive to the complete befuddlement of the fellow who doesn't know its meaning. Letters can be composed and written in jive that will puzzle censors and all others who don't know what it is all about. Jive is a lot of fun. 2. Jive for jivers and those who are not. Two hep cats, their hair heavily larded, are standing near the jukebox in a candy store. The first hep cat is telling his friend a story. He says, "Old man, it's about a tray of haircuts on the back beat when I nixes my pad, drops my twister on the keep, and colors a light broom down the cruncher to the lush pad on the three-pointer. I'm stiffing the stroll in the flag spot when up pops a fine banana with a clud stud hanging on her crook. I digs the plane and rolls it over to my conch that this is a wild banter that's trying to flop but can't fly. Now the cluck stud is in there, old man, he's in there. He's draped out in a cutting blue with the rolls as big as a needle's eye and spreading like the mumps at his deuce of benders. His sky is righteous and hooks over his gimmers like pie crust over the rim of a pan. His treaders, old man, are brand new, and his tops hit him across his ticker with its straps as short as my cash. That fine banana, old man, understand, is as mellow as a cello, as fine as red wine. A killer from Manila, like the tree, old man, understand? All root. Like the bear's brother, Eddie, Jack, she's ready. She's righteous, old man. She's reaches and she's shaped up like a Coca-Cola bottle, wide open at the throttle. In fact, stud hoss, she's as pretty as a speckled pup climbing a green hill under a country wagon on a summer afternoon in June. She's in her dried barkers like Kong and glassware, and those gams, old man, understand, are like the props on a gula. My conch said gray, but Jackson, I dug the sniffer, a button, old man, understand? That gave her away. I want to lay my larceny, but the cluck's done cruised her through the slammer before I can shift to second. But I cop strilled right after them, old man, and I dug my broom racy like Count Basie. Inside, they're spraying with their cutware upside down, and I digs all the studs laying down is a deuce of demons, because he don't spread nothing but thins on the line. At the same time, homie, I'm eating onions and wiping my eyes, just like the chicken. I ain't sticking. Yet all the time I'm rolling in my conch that he's a lane from Spokane or at most a home from Rome. I'm figuring what's the jive and how I'm going to cut in when the stud cut it out to drop a flat in the piccolo. While he's rigging and twisting with the pick, I'm gunning this fine banana and she's finally gives me kind of hard, old man, just like Norwegian lard. I hooks and she latches on because I digs him 2 camels down the road doing a solo in a boulevard westerner as though he was in a hurry to get back. Old man, I tunes my brace of receivers in real sharp and eases around until I'm right by this fine banana. Here's the spiel I laid on her. Listen, babes, you're mellow, understand? I dug you when you popped in port. You're making the wrong play. I'm your light of day. That square ain't nowhere. I'm the accelerator. You're the moderator. Ain't you got no pressure to spare? I can make you mellow, but you gotta nix out that fellow. I'm a hip cat, understand? Now here's what she laid on me. I believe, my friend, your name is West. You're working hard to burst your vest. Sure, I'm mellow and I'm a solid frail. You've got the right hammer, but you use the wrong nail. You're picking up nickels and laying down dimes, but your drive is beat and sour as limes. The lowdown on this report by the Hepcat can be picked up through study of the lexicon called the Jivers Bible in the back of this book. However, to start the reader off, the author felt some explanation was necessary. Here is what was said. My friend, about 3 weeks ago I left home, gave my key to the housekeeper, and walked down the avenue to the tavern on the corner. I'm standing there where the bus stops, loafing, when a pretty yellow girl comes along with a very dark individual holding her arm. I look them over quickly and decide that she is a gay young woman who is out for fun in the nightlife world for the first time. Now her companion is flashily dressed in the latest style. He is wearing a sharply pressed blue suit, the trousers of which are very small at the ankles, and very large and balloon-like at the knees. He has on a good hat, the brim of which is turned down over his eyes in the latest Harlem fashion. His shoes are brand new. The tops of his trousers are so high they reach his heart. His suspenders are as short as can be. That fine, high yellow girl is easy to look at. In fact, she's everything a man would want in a woman. She fits into her furs like whiskey in a bottle. Her legs are shapely and rounded as the legs on a piano. At first I thought she was a white girl, but when I observed her nose, it was as flat as a button. I, thus, found she was colored. You see, I wanted to get in a word with her, but her companion rushed her through the door before I could move. I walked in behind them casually. Inside, they were drinking, and I saw at once that her escort was spending only a few dimes. At the same time, my friend, I realized that I haven't any money. In fact, I'm dead broke. Yet all the time, I'm thinking her companion is just a nice fellow, or at most, a working man. I'm trying to see my way clear to horn in on them when he gets up to drop a nickel in the music box. While he is busy with the jukebox, I'm staring at her. She finally looks at me. I nod to her, and she seems to understand because I see her She finally looks at me. I nod to her, and she seems to understand because I see her boyfriend 15 minutes later riding in a taxicab as though he were anxious to be gone and get back. I listen closely to everything she says and move to her side. I tell her she is lovely and that I saw her when she entered the place. I tell her she is out with the wrong person, that I am the type of man she should be with, and that her friend doesn't mean a thing to her. I also tell her that I'm the kind of man with whom she would find enjoyment being out with. I ask if she will share her affections with me. I further tell her that I can show her a pleasant evening, but that she will have to leave her friend. Here's what she told me. I believe, my friend, that you are a most unusual person, but you're working overtime to get yourself in trouble. Sure, I'm a good-looking girl, and you've got a good line of talk, but not for me. You think yourself very charming and clever, but your story is weak. In fact, it leaves me cold and doesn't sound good at all. 2. Putting down a righteous spiel. This bit of conversation between Sam D. Home and Joe Q. Hip, Harlem's mythical top-flight spielers of jive, could have been recorded on the corner of 126th Street and 7th Avenue, where, it seems, most of the good jive conversations are held. "Old man, what you putting down?" asked Sam D. Home as his friend Joe Q. Hip sauntered up. "I'm picking up on everything brown, old man. What are you putting down?" "Pops, I'm tops," replied Joe Hip. "I'm with it, and I won't quit it. I'm down with the action to my own satisfaction. Do you dig? I'm suffering with the shorts because all the reports make the future dims and brights unhipped on the blacks and whites, so I'm stashing my play right here," said Sam D. Home. "Let me boot you to my play, and maybe you can pick up on the issue I put down with this action," declared Joe Q. Hip. "I dug a skull a deuce of haircuts in the backbeat of the tray 30, putting down a spiel on a heavy hint on the main, trill in front of the lush dash on the 3-pointer. "What was the skull laying, old man? What was he putting down?" "Well, the skull was coming on like I've just gone with a bag act on the Hen's Glory roll. He was driving and conniving, old man, with an issue that I used to knock out when I was putting down some lemon pool action with the smooth roundies when doing a paper dolly at the knowledge stash in the days when I was a cool fool knocking my trill to the swimming pool, trying to beat out the play on the golden rule." "That's mad, old man, so mad it's glad," commented Sam D. Home. "Keep a spielin'." Well, the skull was spreading his propaganda that he'd been scoffing on fish heads and scrambling for the gills until this heavy hen tracked down the mid. He was knocking her down to a stash in life, and oh man, he was putting the jive on her that she was the mellow yellow wren, the angel of all forgotten men, and how it was her duty, like good tutti frutti, to come up on some beater to straighten out his condition. I dig that beg act, Papa, said Sam D. Home. I'm hard with a plate like that myself, although it's as old as ice is cold. Keep a beefin'. Well, continued Joe Q. Hip, this heavy hen was all for the issue and was getting ready to lay down a few dead ones on this skull, when up pops a banter play built on a coke frame, frocked down to it ain't a shame with some good doing moss without the unhip gloss, and put her wing in his and started dropping a hype of her own. That's the way they'll do, old man. These chicks will come down on the issue every time. What did the banter take off with? Well, here's her beef, she says. Pops, I just fell in from the big wind. I've been on a tab issue for many a dim and bright, and I'm beat for the yoke and I'm dying to meet some folk who'll be with it on the knock play. I've been giving every day along the line, old man, for the stud that put me down after he jived me into laying a broom to that repent pad. I had a mellow slave knocking off hidden tracks on a roll-top piano, and I wasn't booted to the inside plays that come up on the turf. That's some mellow mess, Joe, just like Porgy and Bess. You're putting down a gasser, Papa Stoppa. That's a gasser from back. The chick tells how she was knocking her dead ones on the nose each and every double tray, and how the issue is mellow and the action fine, and how her roll-top piano hen tracks her solid with a head kick, and how she went to knock a scoff one mid-bright, and how a skull pops up beside her and laid a hype on her. What did the skull drop on her? Sam D. Home asked. I've dug a lot of hypes, but this one is like my Aunt Bessie, fine and groovy and kind of messy. Spiel on, my man, spiel on. The skull, according to her beef, said, Babes, you're too mellow and yellow to come up on that slave tip. The righteous writ to put down is let me call the plays and you dig the ways. I'm hip to my deuce of benders. I'm called by every cat and stud in the land, the righteous, the solid Mr. Man. I'm above the issue like an ocean gull. That's why, babes, the boys call me Skull. Solid, old man, solid, breathed Sam D. Home in admiration. I'm going to hen track that issue. It's mad and really ready for my pad. Well, the banter went for the issue and snipped a paper dolly on the roll-top piano, and went to stash, and the skulls walked back on the top side of the rock pile in a heavy lump. The banter used to dig a tube when she trumped the lump in the skull for a while, kept his word, and she didn't have to put down on the before Abe Jive. But shortly after, the skull came up on the tab action, and Gas ascribed that it was beat for some beater, and wanted her to weed him a holler note until his mutter came in. Geez, Jake, that's a low snake. That stud was putting down a hard hype. I like hard hypes like that. I'm a hyper who blows like a piper myself. What else? The banter had been spinning at the track on Fool's Dim, and she was ready at Mr. Freddy on all the riffs and reels that come up on the short trills. So the skull had been laying a scoff on her so long and letting her color her nod on a zoom for so long. She couldn't quit it as long as she was with it. She lashed onto a lane from Fort Wayne and let him down for his chimer, but the lane was booted to that onion action and came up with a killjoy, who tagged the play with the slammer issue, but the skull sniffed a powder. When the banter got through spieling, old man, the heavy hen was ready to dust. But the banter laid her steelers on her flappers and booted her to the jive that the skull was trying to drop a hype on her like the one he had put down too long before. Now the skull was draped in bull's wool, and the banter knew the play. She flagged a killjoy, who soon had missed her speaker facing his skull. And that's that. You mean the skull stumbled and fell, tripped up in the threads he had picked up on? Asked Sam D. Home in sober amazement. That's with it, old man, rejoined Joe Q. Hip. That's with it. You dug it like I rug it. I'm knocking my trill. Dig you. 3. Jive points and viewpoints. They talk about everything in jive. The hep cat and fly chick on the corner, in the candy store, in the school locker rooms, in the theater lobby, use jive as a medium to discuss mutual problems, to get loads off their chests, secure in the assumption that what they are saying isn't being understood by the wrong pair of ears. Although jive originated among Negroes, it has no color line. In fact, jive has broken down quite a few barriers of race itself. The conversation recorded here is an indication of the trend of thinking prevalent among young folks today. 2 cats, one white, the other colored, were stashed on the flag spot on the 3-pointer of the ace trill in the twirling top one righteous cool, laying down their larceny on all issues, including hype dropping and pickups and put downs. The colored cat was on the beam. And here's part of his spiel. Old man, I've been digging the snitches each and every bright and dim. And Daddy, the action that is going on is heavy on all fronts. And those who ain't hip better get their boots on, 'cause there's a lot of shuck dropping going on, and there's a lot of heads that are going to be oiled up before this mess is straightened out. I dig you, Stud Hoss, cut in the White Cat. I'm with the issue and down with the action, especially since it's built on a solid half traction. The great issue on the cornpone side of the black and white split is putting down a play that isn't hipped at all. They don't dig that this is 1944 and not 1844. Homes don't come from Rome no more. Neither do all lanes come from Spain and squares from Delaware. There's too many hip spades mixed up in this issue to take all that wrangling and twisting on their knees. Old man, said the colored cat, you're groovy as a 10-cent movie with that line. In fact, it's fine. I like your patter. It's right over the platter. What those gray studs on the unglamorous side of the cornpone riff don't cop is that the average lane today is from the apple, or at least from some apple, whether it's the Big Apple, the Windy Apple, the Tropic Apple, or the Bunker Hill Apple. And he's down with the action since he ain't never had to get bouncy in his brace of dukes because a gray wouldn't play the game like it should be played. These young studs are oilers from back, and Pops, they're shooting their marbles from all sides of the ring. Since Uncle laid down his play and put the issue on them, these cats are too hip to sit down when they should stand up. That zoot suit action, said the White Cat, wasn't hipped. In fact, it was sorry off jiving. Where do them studs get off trying to call a riff like that? A play where the issue is that we can't knock our drapes in righteous shapes the way we want them? I still say this is 1944. Cats have changed, old man, and they don't come through the back like they used to. Us young homes and lanes and hip studs, gray and fay and spook and spade, are getting together on what's in life, and that's what got everybody all stewed up. They can't dig a spade in a fine young gray scribe covenant tapper on the main drag. Neither can they latch onto the issue on which a young gray cat will help a spook oil up another gray who doesn't know that this is 1944. And Jackson, added the White Cat. Uncle is hipping a whole lot of cats as to what to do when the action gets off the track. And he's knocking the info to each of these cats as how to take charge when the mess gets too thick to thin out. A lot of grays and some ungroovy spooks, for that matter, are going to get conked up good before everybody sits down and cops a scoff from the same oak spread. I hope you dig me, old man, 'cause I dig you. Thus, it can be seen that crude social implications are prevalent in many jive conversation and quote-unquote modern ideas present in many breasts of those who speak and think in jive. The intermingling of white and Negro youth has brought about a degree of intimacy that would have been unthinkable in another era. With jive, they feel safe. It is a medium that allows them full expression and at the same time provides the diversion, fads, and fancies jive is supposed to provide.